On today's Club 904, we just went live. There's already 150 of you hanging out live with us on YouTube, X, Twitch, wherever you get the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 channel. It's trade deadline day in the National Football League. We are coming at you live at 1:01 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as I look at the clock, which means we are less than 3 hours away from the 2025 trade deadline. The Jaguars have already made one move. Could we see them make some more? Dan Griffis also stops by to break down the Jaguars' resurgent run game. Brent Martineau going to hop in the chat as well, live from UNF Arena ahead of today's edition of Talent Talks. Folks, it's going to be a lot of fun. You're going to want to interact. You're going to want to comment, leave questions. Let's get after it on a Tuesday. The club is indeed going up on a Tuesday. I'm your host, Mia O'Brien. Thanks for hanging with us here in Club 904 on a Tuesday edition on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 channel. Glad I stayed home and I'm sitting down for this one because some of the moves and trades that have come down here in the last 15, 20 minutes across the National Football League, you're going to need a chair. You're going to need to take a seat when you hear some of these. Will the Jaguars be making another move that maybe makes you want to just take a second, catch your breath? We'll see. We will see about that. As always, our thanks to Action Sports Jacks 24/7, where you can catch all of our episodes both on demand as well as live. If you miss any of today's episode, you, of course, can go back and listen to it on the Action Sports Jacks YouTube as well as wherever you get your podcast. But without further ado, let's bring in our first guest into the club. He is Daniel Griffis of Action Sports Jackson. Man alive, Dan. Here you and I are. We're workshopping ideas for today's episode. Knew it was trade deadline day. Maybe I was told, not too long ago that maybe it's going to be anticlimactic, not a lot of movement around the league. And we've had a little bit of movement, including here in Duval County. How are you? Happy Tuesday. Welcome. Actually, not welcome back because you're still in Arizona. My goodness.
Ripping the hat, even though they beat my Gators last night. So it's a bit of a sore subject. But, I come back here in a couple hours. But it's been awesome here in Tucson. I missed part of the Jaguar game because I was in the mines of Bisbee, Arizona. I was able to come back and finish the game. And between that and today, it's going to be it looks to be a couple of really eventful days, especially for Jaguars fans.
That is for certain. And Dan, of course, you're paying homage to Koa Pete, who we all, know will now, of course, be the best player in college basketball this year. Oh, wait, that's right. He plays for Arizona, a.k.a. September, Maryland of college basketball. College football fans know that analogy too much. We are also here, as Dell puts it, for Jimmy Stones, for James Gladstone, who made a move already on this trade deadline Tuesday for Raiders wide receiver Jakobi Meyers. A little bit of background on this move, which is for a 4th and a 6th round pick. Meyers' contract does not expire until through the 2026 season. And so he would be on the books for next year. Couple things that this signals. Number one, they're moving on from Dyami Brown, maybe Tim Patrick as well, who are both on 1-year contracts here with the Jaguars. Parker Washington will enter a contract year next year. Additionally, Dan, I have been told that Jakobi Meyers is looking for a pretty lucrative extension when he does come up for free agency, somewhere in the ballpark of $20 million per year. Not exactly sure if that's where the asking price is for a wide receiver 2, which is what he is. He's a top end wide receiver 2. We once upon a time said the same thing though about Christian Kirk. And obviously he went on to have a 1,000-yard season with the Jaguars his first year and was on that trajectory for his second and third years prior to injury. So your initial impressions of the Jaguars' first, maybe not only move at the trade deadline.
Yeah, we should get a really good view of who Jakobi Meyers is very quickly. I mean, if this trade was made with a healthy BTJ, a healthy Travis Hunter, a healthy Dyami Brown, you're probably still have the assumption that they move on from Dyami Brown. But, now he's coming in and you mentioned, he's wide receiver 2. He might be wide receiver 1 right now for the Jaguars if BTJ and Dyami Brown can't go. So that's certainly going to be interesting to see how the Jaguars utilize him alongside Parker Washington, who's quickly worked himself up the depth chart thanks to injuries. But, the Jaguars were going to be in really tough shape if those two, Dyami Brown and BTJ, couldn't go this weekend and going forward. especially with some crucial AFC South games coming up. These are must-win games for the Jaguars, and they obviously felt that adding another receiver of the caliber of Jakobi Meyers could come in and really keep this offense going, especially through the passing game where, the big thing that has killed the Jaguars offensively through the air this year has been drops. And I'll mention it. He has a 3.8%.
Oh, it's no longer 0. It was 0 last year. Come on, Dan.
That's career.
Oh, career. Sorry.
His career 3.8. This year it's 5.7. And to give some context, Parker Washington 13.8. Diami Brown 17.4. BTJ 18.9.
That's on the season, or is that for their career?
That's this season. Jakobi Meyers is at 5.7.
Yeah. So you'd sign up for that in a heartbeat.
Yeah. So like catching the ball, it might surprise you, is important at receiver. So that certainly helps, as well as what he can do after the catch. Him and Travis Hunter are both tied for 6th in the NFL, according to PFF, in missed tackles force. And neither one are guys that have a huge amount of targets or receptions. So that's really nice to see he can come in here and immediately make an impact, one, by just catching the ball, and two, after the catch.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start with the first part about that, the injuries, because I think that that's another reason that this move actually came to fruition. A lot of reports also circulating the Jaguars called for a third time about Romeo Doubs. Look, in light of the massive blockbuster that went down just about 20 minutes ago, the Indianapolis Colts trading 2 first-round picks for Jets corner Sauce Gardner, while my expectation, and certainly subscribers to the Mo Bryan NFL Notebook know this, was that it would be Miami that would be the biggest seller at the trade deadline. I've heard each of the last 2 nights rumblings out of the New York Jets camp of Quinnen Williams being shopped, of Garrett Wilson being shopped. Sauce Gardner, of course, came in that same draft class as Garrett Wilson, and reportedly, much like Wilson, not too happy with the current regime. Darren Muji, the GM, feels no ties to him. And so ultimately, that is why you're seeing Sauce Gardner now on the move. The reason I bring all that up to say is I never, quite frankly, believed, with all due respect to my sources, I never believed this idea of the Jaguars could possibly deal for Garrett Wilson. But to that point, they put in calls about Romeo Doubs. There obviously was conversations. You can check out Mike Silver at The Athletic, a friend of the pod's, reporting with regards to Jakobi Meyers. I think that because the Raiders, Dan, wanted a 3rd-round pick, they wanted a higher day 2 pick for Myers' services, knowing he still has 9 games and a full year left under his current contract. I think that the Jaguars waited it out until they could give up those 2 day 3 picks. And the reason they had to finally pull the trigger is, to your point, because Diami Brown is currently in the concussion protocol. Brian Thomas Jr., some sort of ankle injury that we'll get more information about tomorrow when Liam Cohen meets with the media. Tim Patrick missed this past weekend's game with an injury. I heard on Jaguars Happy Hour that apparently Parker Washington, and this, I don't want to put it out there, but Austin and Pete and JP said it. Apparently he had back spasms during the game on Sunday. And so we're literally talking about an entire wide receiving room. Oh, by the way, Travis Hunter got placed on IR on Saturday. An entire wide receiver room that has some sort of injury. And so at the very least, you needed to make a move for a wide receiver, whether that was on the high end, Wilson giving up premium capital, trying to find middle ground on Doubs, or making the move for Meyers, which brings me to your second point, Dan, which Matt Harmon of Yahoo Sports, and of course, Reception Perception, one of the best groups out there when it comes to tracking wide receivers in the National Football League. He just put out his breakdown because he was live on Yahoo Sports when this trade went down. And I saw Bill Barnwell, my colleague at ESPN, also saying it. This idea of Parker Washington has one of his best career games coming out of the slot, and now you're going to basically say, no, sorry, you can't compete for snaps. Where Jakobi Meyers, in my estimation, is very interesting is that he can flex inside and outside. That was something that both Parker Washington has been knocked for at different points in his career. Christian Kirk was knocked for it when he first got to Jacksonville, when so many looked at him and said he's just a slot. He proved he can go outside. He can play the X and the Z. I think Meyers has already proven that, and then some, even more so than Kirk. And that's where I see this as a move for a receiver who can play all 3 receiver spots on the field and is also a capable blocker. What say you in terms of how the Jaguars manage the usage of their wide receiver room moving forward?
Yeah, I looked it up. That was one of the things that I was looking for. He's for his career, he's almost 50-50 from outside and in the slot. It's like 51-49, something like that. And, it's especially going back again to the injuries, Like right now, you just don't know who's on the field, and getting someone with that versatility inside and outside allows one, the versatility and the ability to move Parker Washington inside, but also gives the Jaguars some options where if BTJ or Diami Brown can go this weekend, you have a lot more versatility or options that you can use with the offense, as opposed to if they got just a slot guy or just an outside guy. Maybe you don't have that flexibility that you would have, which I think is pretty key right now with what they going on. And you mentioned the blocking. That's been a huge thing for Liam Cohen and this Jaguars offense, is getting receivers who can block. I think it was Jakobi Meyers who had an excellent block on the Gianti touchdown.
I think it was too. The irony. First of all, I mean, come on now. We couldn't put him on the plane back Sunday night. Like, make it easy on him. Like, I don't think Breeze Airlines flies today. Correct me if I'm wrong. Direct to Jacksonville. Like, poor Jakobi. Got to have a connection now from Atlanta.
I might see him on my flight here in a couple hours.
There we go. Look at that.
So, but yeah, that was a huge block. I think it was against Greg Newsome to spring that Gianti touchdown. That's something that the Jaguars have really harped on all offseason. I think it's a big reason as to why the run game has been as successful as it has been, especially outside the tackles this season.
Tremendous segue, as we call it in the business, Dan, because before the Jakobi Meyers trade went down, our plan today was to evaluate that Jaguars run game that looked awesome once again, tied for its second best mark on the season with 151 rushing yards against the Raiders on Sunday. I see tons of questions, tons of comments in the chat. We appreciate you guys, and don't worry, I'm going to do a full live Q&A after we get Dan out of the club. Don't worry, Dan, you're always welcome in the club. We're just going to make way for a little Q&A and then a little Brent Martineau at the end of today's episode. So keep those questions coming. I see some questions about Brenton Strange. Dan is actually going to address some of that and how he plays into this offense here in just a second. But first, let's talk about that Jaguars run game, which again was resurgent with 151 rushing yards through the air. Travis Etienne, 22 carries on the day. That was a season high. Big picture, 30,000 foot view, Dan Griffis. What did you make of the Jaguars' performance on the ground against Las Vegas?
I think where initially in the season, maybe the O-line was also doing a really great job. Less so this past weekend, but Etienne made up for it he had 14 more yards after contact than he had total. He had 98 yards after contact. So he's getting hit semi-often in the backfield, but he was making do with it. And he hasn't had probably the amount of carries that the Jaguars would have liked going into the season thus far. I think a lot of that has to do with the penalties, the pre-snap penalties, getting themselves into. In the first half alone, they had 1st and 15, 2nd and 20, 2nd and 20, 2nd and 15, 2nd and 18. So they're just not downs to really run the ball. But the second half, the Jaguars committed 0 offensive penalties, and you saw Travis Etienne and Bashal Tutin really carry the workload. The yards per carry weren't there, but if you watch the game, you understood just how important those two players were to creating yards and keeping drives going. The Jaguars ended with 8 straight runs on that overtime drive. That goes to show you there just how crucial it was. And it's not just it's not just the running backs, but the O-line this entire season has done a pretty good job in run blocking. Pass blocking has been a little more up and down, but kudos to the receivers too, who are doing their jobs and springing some stuff out on the outside.
So if I'm hearing you right, Dan, because I actually wrote this down and I did not expect this to be your response, which is very interesting. The success of the run game on Sunday was in large part thanks to Travis Etienne and the running backs themselves, not a cohesive offensive line running back combination alongside receivers and tight ends blocking like we saw maybe week 1 against the Carolina Panthers or week 4 against the Niners. Perhaps that's injury related, or did you feel like from the onset, the offensive line really wasn't moving off of the line like they have in previous weeks?
I don't think that they were I don't think that they were bad.
Okay.
I just don't think that they were where in previous, like the first 5-6 games or whatever, when the Jaguars had a lot of running success. I don't think it was as maybe a cohesive unit as it was this past weekend against the Raiders. I still think the receivers are it's far better than what we've seen in recent seasons. But a lot of it was Etienne forced 9 missed tackles and had 43 yards after those missed tackles. Both are season highs for him. So kudos to Etienne there for he was breaking a lot of tackles and getting a lot of yards after contact and really putting in the work for the Jaguars run game.
So one other important note when it comes to the Jaguars run game, and you hit on it here, Dan, and of course it's a question that's popped up in the chat as well. The tight ends, not having Brenton Strange. For those of you asking in the comments, when can we see Brenton Strange, expect to see Brenton Strange back on the field from the IR? He's eligible to return against the Chargers. So not this week, it would be the following week. From what I have heard, he is trending towards that. Obviously, this team wants to play it safe, i.e. what we saw with Devin Lloyd traveling to Vegas this past weekend with the calf strain, but ultimately not playing. So I don't want to say that Brenton Strange is definitively coming back against the Los Angeles Chargers for the Jaguars' next home game, Dan. It's trending in that direction. What have you seen, though, with the tight ends? Or is this with regards to the defense and what tight ends like? Oh, okay. All right. Well, let's start with Brenton Strange first. I am curious. I know you don't have the numbers pulled up here. We'll just pull up some video instead on these Travis Etienne runs. Like, ultimately, what role did you see Hunter Long, Johnny Munt play over the last 2 weeks comparatively to when Brenton Strange is on the field and also helping block?
Yeah, I think Johnny Munt's probably a better run blocker than Hunter Long, and that's fine. Hunter Long is probably a better receiver. And the Jaguars need a little bit of both with the absence of Brenton Strange, who really proved to be really good at both. I don't reference PFF grades all too often, but there's not much I can do in terms of run blocking metrics. I will say Brenton Strange is PFF's second highest rated run blocker, tight end. And
he hasn't played in 3 weeks.
I know. And he was also, before this past week, he was still top 5 in missed tackles forced by a tight end after the catch. So he's still ranks up there among the best tight ends in run blocking and after the catch. So he's sorely missed there. Johnny Munt's 11th going into this season. I haven't checked since yesterday or 2 days ago's game. But, that's a player that for the first, until he got injured, he was probably the Jaguars' most consistent player on offense.
Right.
Him and Etienne probably. And that's just a player we've seen really how much the offense has changed without him in the fold. And it's a lot of those really easy pitch and catches that we saw early on from Trevor Lawrence. He hasn't really had that, especially with the inconsistent hands of the other Jaguars receivers. Brent Strange doesn't have any issues dropping the ball, and that's been a kind of a sore spot. Jaguars really haven't had a tight end who can make plays downfield since he went down.
When we get ready for Brenton Strange's return, whether that is next week or the following week, Dan, we are probably going to have to try to dig up those numbers. I'm just genuinely curious what the Jaguars run game has looked like with Brenton Strange on the field versus when he is not on the field. But let's wrap with your final note on today's agenda for your portion of today's episode of Club 904. Brock Bowers, I couldn't believe it was his first multi-touchdown game of his young career, because he had such a prolific rookie campaign. But when you couple his performance against the Jags with what we saw with the Rams, where come hell or come high water, I think Sean McVay just wanted to stick it to Liam Cohen and go 12, 13 personnel, something he's talked about in general terms, wanting to move towards over the last 3 seasons. And so those 2 performances coupled together, I think exposed a lot of warts and all when it comes to the Jaguars defense. What say you with that tight end position in particular?
Yeah, the Jaguars early on in the season were like among the highest in dime coverage. And, between the last couple of weeks with the amount of tight ends that have been on the field, regards to Sean McVay, really kept the Jaguars in base personnel. And it's kind of, you've seen tight ends kind of take advantage of the Jacksonville defense. I can't remember. I could tell you that the Raiders receivers had 60 yards receiving.
I have the exact number here. Are you ready for it in terms of the tight end? Yeah, we have it from Sunday's Club 904. I've got it handy, so let me hit you with it. Keep turning pages, Mia. Pages are hard. There we go. 40. That's our here we go. 16 receptions for the tight ends compared to 7 for the wide receivers of the Las Vegas Raiders. 162 receiving yards for tight ends, 223 if you want to include the running backs. 61 yards receiving for the wide receivers, 4 total touchdowns between the tight ends and the running backs, receiving 0 for then Jakobi Meyers and Tyler Lockett and company.
Yeah, that's kudos to the Raiders for figuring out what worked against the Jaguars. There's something certainly to be said there for, the opposing team is trying to do their job too. It's not, I think the absence of Devin Lloyd probably hurts that a fair bit. Ventrell Miller has never been an outstanding coverage linebacker. That's fine. He's really good against the run. And Foye kind of got picked on as well. I think he gave up 7 receptions on 8 targets against the Rams, if I recall correctly. So that's, something that the Jaguars really have to. It's not just Bowers and the Raiders either. It was 80 some odd yards each game the entire season. So it's been kind of as I noted there, kryptonite for the Jaguars defense this year, as are a couple of the big busted plays this season. But that's an area that the Jaguars have to improve. Hopefully the return of Devin Lloyd does that, as well as some of the safety injuries that have happened, whether it's Eric Murray. You've certainly had some injuries there that have no doubt hurt the Jaguars. When you were talking about brainstorming, ideas for this, I'm kind of running out of players to have stats for.
Well, that's why they had to go trade for another player. Maybe they'll go get another here in the next less than 3 hours time before the trade deadline, Dan. So you can dive even more into some numbers, but 30,000 foot view, because I know we've covered a ton of ground today, from the Jaguars trade for Jakobi Meyers to the run game success on Sunday against Las Vegas to the defense struggling against tight ends. What for you is talking point number 1? If you're Liam Cohen, if you're leading the team meeting Wednesday morning, heading into this AFC South matchup on Sunday in Houston.
I think if they can continue what they did in the second half of no penalties, no drops, keep the offense on schedule, and really utilize their strong run game, which they haven't been able to do in recent weeks, got back to it in the second half against the Raiders. I think that's their identity on offense. And if they can stay on schedule, make stuff easy for Trevor Lawrence, fix some red zone issues that they've certainly had, as they had the multiple turnovers on downs. Just clean up some stuff on offense, and I think that'll do wonders for how successful this team can be. And if you can really get on the run game, you can get Tootin involved as well, who has kind of been like an afterthought in the last month or so, because the Jaguars haven't been able to run the ball at all, and when they have, it's primarily gone to ETN. And we saw, the return of Bashal Tootin, that we haven't really seen do all that much in recent weeks. And I think the dynamic of those two, keeping everything on schedule, as well as the defense can't allow, 6 scoring drives in a row or whatever it was. But I think that's probably the biggest thing of keeping the Jaguars on schedule and on pace to make the playoffs.
The beauty of a trade deadline episode, Dan, is we get so many new friends in the club that we didn't previously know. The Riff Raff on YouTube must be a first-time user, because I've never seen the Riff Raff 1963 in the chat. I like your U of A hat, Dan. I work next to the stadium. So there you go.
I'm right here.
Another friend of you and Koa Pete hanging out in Tucson, Arizona. There's also some song lyrics that I would quote, but I cannot carry a tune in a bucket. We appreciate you hanging out, as you do so often here in Club 904, breaking down all the numbers and cents over at actionnewsjacks.com. Safe travels back, and I know we will be locked and loaded on your Twitter feed as well for all the latest and greatest when it comes to the Big Cats.
Thank you.
There he goes, Dan Griffis. Of course, you can read all of his great stuff at actionnewsjacks.com, flying back from visiting family in Tucson, and we'll get him back here in the club very soon, because I am very interested in those run game numbers comparatively with and without Brenton Strange. But it is the trade deadline day in the National Football League for the 2025 season. We are live and streaming across all of the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 channel networks, and so I know you guys want to talk about who the Jaguars could be eyeing next. A little bit of breaking news while we were looking through the Jaguars run game numbers from Sunday. The Chicago Bears have made a move here in the last hour. They have added Joe Tryon-Shoyinka from the Cleveland Browns. For those panicking about the Bears loading up and adding an edge rusher for a 7th-round pick, who quite frankly was a failed first-round pick with the Tampa crew down there in West Florida, the West Coast, you know what I mean. Don't forget that Dayo Odingbo went down with a season-ending Achilles injury on Sunday, and so the Bears knew they had to make some sort of move to aid Montez Sweat and Austin Booker. Now can the Jaguars make a move along the defensive line to try to aid Josh Hines-Allen and Trayvon Walker, maybe even shoring up that interior a little bit? The word has gotten out. Our friend Mike Silver is reporting it. Jonathan Jones of CBS Sports, another friend of the pod, is also noting it. And it's something we've said here and at the Mo Bryan NFL Notebook for weeks. This idea of the Jaguars know they need help in finding a player who can push the interior of the pocket. Devon Hamilton has graded out extremely nicely on PFF the last few weeks in run defense. He also had the play of the game sealing play against the Las Vegas Raiders and batting down that Geno Smith pass. But he is not pushing the pocket in getting to the passer at the rate the Jaguars need, especially with Trayvon Walker still working his way back to full health. So we will keep you updated, of course, here at the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 channel. If any news breaks here in the next half hour, we're hanging out in Club 904, and Brent Martineau is going to join us here in just a little bit. But first, we will do some live Q&A, so get those questions and those comments coming, whether it's on the trade front or something else entirely. It's Club 904 on a Tuesday. We'll be right back after this time.
Welcome inside the Armor Guard exterior and gutter helmet showroom. There's a lot going on, like glass exteriors, replacement windows, and down there we have the retractable screens and awnings, plus hurricane protection. Let's talk more about those gutters, and to do that we bring in Kevin. He's the owner, he's the expert. Why Gutter Helmet?
Well, Gutter Helmet's truly the only maintenance-free product. It lets the trash and debris go on the ground, the water wraps around and goes inside. Unlike filters, they sit on top of the gutters, and the trash and debris build up on top of filters, which requires maintenance. With Gutter Helmet, we're going to keep you off the ladder, the most dangerous thing in your garage. With Gutter Helmet, you'll never clean your gutters again. So get off the ladder and put on the helmet. Gutter Helmet.
Get a free estimate at gutterhelmetofnorthflorida.com. You can also call 904-762-7779 or visit the showroom on St. John's Bluff Road in Jacksonville.
Empower a future, inspire a dream. It's a bold but simple mission for the Jacksonville Police Athletic League known as Jax PAL. Help the next generation of kids in Jacksonville shape a brighter future. Their after-school programs, teenage leadership programs. There's community outreach.
This has been just an awesome opportunity to be out here with my colleagues and do something good for the community. It's really been an interesting opportunity to just see everybody work together in a way that we don't normally in the office.
And there's sports. There are also ways you can help the next generation with a donation of any kind. Just visit jaxpal.org to get more information. Empower a future, inspire a dream with Jax PAL.
I've been telling you about CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing for a long time now. Their drinking water systems remove up to 99% of contaminants. We've had a Connecticut water softener and drinking water system in our home for more than 7 years. You can see the difference whether you're washing clothes, the dishes, or what I like to do most, fill this up for some coffee every morning, and mostly all day. Remember, if you're not filtering your water, you are the filter. Don't be the filter. Right now, you can get a free Connecticut reverse osmosis system with the purchase of a Connecticut Premier Softener. The experts at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing will test your water for free and determine your water score. Don't know your water score? CGC will find out and recommend the appropriate Connecticut water treatment solutions so you can improve it. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. Ask about our 90-day love it or leave it guarantee. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
There's a saying in sports, you can't win them all, but you can win a lot with good folks on your team. Like that one painter, First Coast. It's tough to beat the sun in Florida, so your home fades. It's tough to beat that HOA when they come calling. Beat the sun, beat the HOA with that one painter, First Coast. And it's a good time to do it. Less rain to work around, and painting in mild temperatures is perfect. After all, the paint bonds to the surface so much better. Give that one painter First Coast a call at 904-417-3557 or look them up at first-coast.com. shop.thatonepainter.com. Fast estimate, guidance on color and HOA requirements, and the highest quality job you'll find anywhere. Be a big winner in your neighborhood with That One Painter First Coast on your team.
Sun's out, suits out. That's right, it's summertime in Florida, which means it's time to say goodbye to bulking season and hello to shredding season. But if you're like me, you're having a hard time sculpting and shaping those final pounds. That is until I came and saw my friends over at Ponte Vedra Vein and Aesthetics. Right now, everyone is hopping on the Evolve X train, and the only destination is finding your perfect summer body. The technology uses electrical muscle stimulation and radio frequency energy to cause your muscles to contract, all while heating up those deep layers of your skin and tissue to produce collagen and reduce fat. It's like doing 1,000 sit-ups in 30 minutes. No pain, no needles, just results, right? That's right. So leave those winter layers back at the station and come look and feel your best with the team here at Ponte Vedra Vein and Aesthetics. Visit them at one of their 2 locations, either over in Ponte Vedra or on the south side.
Welcome back into a Tuesday edition of Club 904. Over 800 of you hanging out with us live on the channels of the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network. And you have lots of questions. I keep seeing my phone light up with all the Twitter replies and mentions. And of course, on YouTube, you guys have all your comments coming. So let's do a little bit of Q&A before we welcome Brent Martineau in. He is live at UNF. Talent Talks follows our program live on the Action Sports Jack 24/7 channel, live from UNF Arena. So we'll check in with Brent. He was also in Las Vegas, so maybe he can speak a little bit more to the juju of it all. Were there conversations on the field between Jakobi Meyers and maybe the Jaguars front office beyond what Mike Silver of The Athletic has already reported, that Adam Baselli, the son of Jaguars EVP and Hall of Famer Tony Baselli, did play with Jakobi Meyers at NC State. And so there's a little familiarity there. Want to run through a couple things on the Meyers front first before we get to some of your questions. Let's start with this. This is from Fantasy Points. If Jakobi Meyers, thank you, Scott Barrett, who sometimes criticizes the Jags on Twitter, but this is positive. If Jakobi Meyers doesn't lather his hands in petroleum jelly before every snap like the Jags' other receivers, there's serious upside for him. Most catchable targets per game. The Jaguars are 4th in the National Football League in catchable targets per game at 28.1. Most catchable air yards per game. The Jaguars are 4th, behind only the Rams, the Chargers, and the Cowboys at 192.8, according to Fantasy Points. I also want to shout out our friend Clay, who likes to hang out with us here from H-Town in Club 904, who noted Meyers is more versatile and can play inside, outside compared to De'Ami Brown, who is on a 1-year contract and as of this writing, remains in the concussion protocol. If the offense is running while Travis Etienne is gone, if the offense is running well without Travis Hunter here, I believe you will see him come back and play defense mostly while playing wide receiver on 3rd down. This can be a Chiefs-type offense where the wide receivers are fluctuating. And I wanted to read that tweet from Clay because it reiterates the point that we just made with Dan Griffis, which if you missed any of that conversation, go back. You can listen to it on demand here, either on YouTube at the Action Sports Jacks channel or wherever you get your podcast. Jakobi Meyers has played pretty much 50-50 when it comes to inside, outside routes. And so while some other national media folks have questions about what the Jaguars are doing, considering Parker Washington had a career game on Sunday against the Raiders, and where will you find these snaps? They believe Jakobi Meyers can play outside as well and play both the X and the Z. And given De'Ami Brown's injury on Sunday, given Brian Thomas Jr. banged up with the ankle injury, given Travis Hunter on IR, Tim Patrick missed this game, unless you want Austin Trammell and Tim Jones running around as your 2nd and 3rd option, the Jaguars had to make some sort of move, and they had to make a move for a receiver who could play all 3 spots, and they get that in Meyers, where it is also being reported by the folks, James Palmer, formerly of NFL Network, now with Underdog Fantasy, that, oh yes, as I already said off the top of the show, the Raiders wanted a 3rd. The New Orleans Saints reportedly wanted a 3rd for Raheed Shaheed. Both of those teams ultimately had to come down from that asking price, go to a 4th and a sweetener. In the case of the Saints' recent trade in the last hour with the Seattle Seahawks to send Shaheed to the Pacific Northwest, it's a 4th and a 5th. In the case of the Jaguars and the Raiders, it's a 4th and a 6th for Meyers. Let's hit your questions. I've been asking for them. I need to hit them already. Ether Dark. I'm hoping for news about Minkah Fitzpatrick to the Jags. As I've told subscribers to the Mo Bryan NFL Notebook, I would keep an eye on Miami, especially in light of James Palmer of Underdog also noting that the Denver Broncos are not done. And there's some smoke out there about Jalen Waddle and could he be headed to the Mile High City? I do not believe the Dolphins are done. I think that there is still movement to be had, whether that is with Jacksonville or with someone else. So good shout. File that one away. Who else we got here hanging out in the club? This is from Maniac Slap 1623. I'm on the inside DL train too. Geno stepped up out of a few sacks like they all do due to no interior pressure. Hopefully Myers can pick up the playbook quickly. And Gator WP adds a legit DT, makes both edge rushers so much better. Duval T87 cosigns on that. And that's why I think that you will see, I don't want to say come hell or come high water, because I don't think James Gladstone is stressing it. I don't think there is such an emphasis on I need to go get an interior defensive lineman or else the entire operation ceases to exist. I think that they have recognized they've gotten to a 5-3 record without maybe having that penetrating defensive tackle, but I'd be curious to see what sort of compensation they'd have to give up. I already noted earlier in the show with Dan, after the Jets made the move with the Colts to trade Sauce Gardner, that is now being reported as 2 first-round picks and A.D. Mitchell, the young wide receiver who, because of how many receivers the Indianapolis Colts currently have, became expendable and obviously is a bit of a sweeter name and a younger name that you can develop comparatively to a Michael Pittman, who's a little bit later on in their careers, or a Josh Downs, or someone else who's a little bit further along in that rookie contract or second contract. And so in that same vein, I think that if that is what it took to go get Sauce Gardner for the Colts, 2 firsts and a second-year rookie, I think you'd be looking at something similar if you were to try to go get Quinnen Williams, if you're the Jaguars or anyone else. And the Jaguars are already without their first-round pick for the 2026 draft. And so you maybe have to pivot off Quinnen Williams, who could be some interior defensive line names. I see a couple of you in the chat noting Calais Campbell. I'm excited to get to talk to Brent Martineau here in just a little bit because he and I both would love to see Calais Campbell come back to Jacksonville. Unfortunately, even at 3-5 and with how competitive that NFC West divisional race is, I do not see the Cardinals parting with him. And knowing that Calais has moved his whole family back out to the desert where he began his career, I don't see them moving. Maybe Jacksonville is the one team that changes that, but I don't know. I do not know. And so I don't want to speak it, but I would love to speak it into existence because I do think that even at 38 years old or 39 years old, in his 18th season, that's the type of player that this team needs, regardless of the leadership and everything else he would bring, but someone who is going to get after the quarterback from the interior and, to the other commenter's point, make life easier for Josh Hines-Allen and for Trayvon Walker. Let's see who else we got. Yes, Gator WP was the one I would love. I would love to have Calais Campbell. Who else we got? How many viable DT and safety targets are there? Dewey is a linebacker at best. Thank you, Ryan, for that comment. I thought Pete Prisco did a really good job on Happy Hour yesterday on the Jaguars in-house channel, breaking this down. Dewey is one of the more cerebral players and probably higher IQ players in that locker room right now. Physically, he has limitations. And maybe that's where he cheats one way or another to compensate for that lack of athleticism. But that's not to say he's not a good football player. I do agree. I think he's best playing in the box. But right now, with Caleb Ransaw on season-ending IR, unless you want to trot Rayon Lane out there, the Jaguars really don't have a rangy center fielder to play safety. And so you find yourself with Antonio Johnson, Dewey Wingard, and a 6th-round rookie out of the Naval Academy. And they say he's ready. So maybe we will see more Rayon Lane this weekend against the Houston Texans. But ultimately, I think the Jaguars are in between a rock and a hard place. So maybe that's where a move for Minkah Fitzpatrick would make sense. Certainly, as we've noted on this pod, as well as on the Mo Bryan NFL Notebook channel, the idea of pre-injury Travis Hunter maybe playing more of a center field role in dime packages, when Jordan Lewis was also healthy, which again, we'll find out more from Liam Cohen tomorrow about his status, having him and Jarian Jones both on the field at the same time. Maybe Lewis becomes more of that center fielder with Jones more in the box. And so I think a lot of what they workshopped in the bye week, unfortunately, with who they have currently, kind of went out the window with the injuries and the fact that Eric Murray came back from the bye and the neck just wasn't ready to go. And so I'm interested to see if maybe safety is a move. That's a good shout from Ryan as to what the Jaguars could do. One more from Brian, because this is something I was thinking about listening to Prisco this morning on my morning bike ride. Could we see a DT trade, maybe Mason Smith for a different defensive tackle? seems like he hasn't seen much action. I agree. I feel like I said to a friend this morning that I can't see the Jaguars giving up on Brian Thomas Jr. after 8 games. And so I don't think they can give up on Mason Smith after 8 games. But in the same vein, they've traded away Tank Bigsby already. They have traded away, why am I blanking on who else they've traded away? Tyson Campbell after 5 games. And so I don't want to rule it out, but I do think that it is very clear, and everyone in the league seemingly knows this, although they certainly had us on our toes in the draft when it came to their eye on the prize for Travis Hunter. The Jaguars need defensive line help, and it's been out there for weeks now. Unless it's a smokescreen, I think anyone who has watched the tape would agree that that is the area that they need the most help. Appreciate everybody's interaction. Let's take another quick break. When we come back, Brent Martineau is going to join us live from UNF. We'll put a bow on today's show. We'll hear about his experience in Las Vegas. No, he didn't go to a casino either. Don't worry. At least I don't think. And we'll also get his take and keep you up to date on the very latest when it comes to the Jaguars and the NFL trade deadline. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just a little bit.
At the Armor Guard exterior and gutter helmet showroom, there's a lot going on, like glass exteriors, replacement windows, and down there we have the retractable screens and awnings, plus hurricane protection. Let's talk more about those gutters, and to do that, we bring in Kevin. He's the owner, he's the expert. Why Gutter Helmet?
Well, Gutter Helmet is truly the only maintenance-free product. It lets the trash and debris go on the ground. The water wraps around and goes inside. Unlike filters, they sit on top of the gutters, and the trash and debris build up on top of filters, which requires maintenance. With Gutter Helmet, we're going to keep you off the ladder, the most dangerous thing in your garage. With Gutter Helmet, you'll never clean your gutters again. So get off the ladder and put on the helmet. Gutter Helmet.
Get a free estimate at gutterhelmetofnorthflorida.com. You can also call 904-762-7779 or visit the showroom on St. John's Bluff Road in Jacksonville.
Empower a future, inspire a dream. It's a bold but simple mission for the Jacksonville Police Athletic League known as Jax PAL. Help the next generation of kids in Jacksonville shape a brighter future. Their after-school programs, teenage leadership programs. There's community outreach.
This has been just an awesome opportunity to be out here with my colleagues and do something good for the community. It's really been an interesting opportunity to just see everybody work together in a way that we don't normally in the office.
And there's sports. There are also ways you can help the next generation with a donation of any kind. Just visit jaxpal.org to get more information. Empower a future, inspire a dream with Jax PAL.
I've been telling you about CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing for a long time now. Their drinking water systems remove up to 99% of contaminants. We've had a Connecticut water softener and drinking water system in our home for more than 7 years. You can see the difference whether you're washing clothes, the dishes, or what I like to do most, fill this up for some coffee every morning, and mostly all day. Remember, if you're not filtering your water, you are the filter. Don't be the filter. Right now, you can get a free Connecticut reverse osmosis system with a purchase of a Connecticut Premier Softener. The experts at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing will test your water for free and determine your water score. Don't know your water score? CGC will find out and recommend the appropriate Connecticut water treatment solutions so you can improve it. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. Ask about our 90-day love it or leave it guarantee. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
There's a saying in sports, you can't win them all, but you can win a lot with good folks on your team. Like that one painter, First Coast. It's tough to beat the sun in Florida, so your home fades. It's tough to beat that HOA when they come calling. Beat the sun, beat the HOA with that one painter, First Coast. And it's a good time to do it. Less rain to work around, and painting in mild temperatures is perfect. After all, the paint bonds to the surface so much better. Give that one painter First Coast a call at 904-417-3557 or look them up at first-coast.thatonepainter.com. Fast estimate, guidance on color and HOA requirements, and the highest quality job you'll find anywhere. Be a big winner in your neighborhood with that one painter First Coast on your team.
Sun's out, suits out. That's right, it's summertime in Florida, which means it's time to say goodbye to bulking season and hello to shredding season. But if you're like me, you're having a hard time sculpting and shaping those final pounds. That is until I came and saw my friends over at Ponte Vedra Vein and Aesthetics. Right now, everyone is hopping on the Evolve X train, and the only destination is finding your perfect summer body. The technology uses electrical muscle stimulation and radio frequency energy to cause your muscles to contract, all while heating up those deep layers of your skin and tissue to produce collagen and reduce fat. It's like doing 1,000 sit-ups in 30 minutes. No pain, no needles, just results, right?
That's right.
So leave those winter layers back at the station and come look and feel your best with the team here at Ponte Vedra Vein and Aesthetics. Visit them at one of their 2 locations, either over in Ponte Vedra or on the south side.
Welcome back into a trade deadline edition of Club 904. Mia O'Brien going to be joined by Brent Martineau here momentarily on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 channel. He is live at UNF Arena as they are getting set for today's edition of Talent Talk, talking about all of the great athletics and successes, wins on and off the field going on at the University of North Florida. Of course, we appreciate everybody who's been interacting with the show all day long. And we know you, of course, will be locked in on the Brent and Austin show, 10 a.m. tomorrow, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., Monday through Friday. And they will pick up where we left off when it comes to the Jaguars trade deadline conversation. Again, a little over 2 hours to go as I say that live at 1:47 p.m. on Tuesday, November 4th, ahead of that 4 o'clock NFL trade deadline. I see Brent is making his way to a stationary location. And so while Brent makes his way, I will give you the last dance for today's episode a little bit early. Oh, no, he says he's ready. Okay, let's get Brent here in the club, folks. Let's welcome on the sports director of Action Sports Jacks. He's walking through the hallways of UNF. I think that's the arena. Yes, it is. Brent, what's going on?
Yes,
Welcome back
is.
into Club 904. It's been a hot minute.
Thank you. I'm going to go like in this little suite area. It used to be a racquetball court here at UNF. And now we got a little suite. This is a good place to do the show.
I was hoping you were going to have us look, we got don't tell JSO that you found Ozzy. They've been looking for him. He's supposed to not reappear until homecoming. UNF people know. Brent, let's start with this. Number one, we're very excited for Talent Talks at 2 o'clock. Are you going to be doing the show live from the new locker rooms, or?
We're doing it from the theater that they have next to the locker rooms where they watch film and I don't know, Top Gun or whatever else. But today that's where Talent Talk's going to be from. So we're excited about it. It looks good over here.
I love it. Now let's start with this before we get to trade deadline talk. You were in Las Vegas for the Jaguars' 5th victory of the season, eclipsing last year's win total. Describe for me from start to finish, from Trevor Lawrence apparently puking throughout the night in the hotel to this absolutely abysmal first half of offensive production with penalties galore. The defense couldn't stop a nosebleed, to the Jaguars ultimately pulling off an overtime victory in Las Vegas. Biggest takeaways. What were your biggest observations?
Well, I think the biggest hope is they found their offense. I mean, even think about the first half, right? They moved the ball like crazy, 17 play, 10.5-minute drive, a great drive. And then they just didn't get anything, which is nearly impossible. But they were moving the ball the entire game. So I think you feel good that they might have found something. And I think what's being a little bit overlooked here is the correction of the penalties, specifically with some guys not in the lineup. I think I tweeted this out Monday or Sunday night on the plane. At 6:36 to go in the second quarter is when they committed their last offensive penalty. So think about that for this football team, right? They went the entire rest of the second quarter, the entire third quarter, the entire fourth quarter, and the entire overtime, because they played a lot of that, without an offensive penalty. To me, that's a big deal. Did they clean it up? Did they find something? How did they do it? We'll see if they can continue that. We know about the run game as well in the offensive line, and they got back to their identity. And I think they found over the break the same thing we've been talking about. Right now, their best player, most consistent player is Travis Etienne. Find a way to get him the football. They got him the football in the passing game. Obviously, you're going to hand it to him, but they even got him in the Wildcat. So to me, that shows that they were making an extra effort to get the ball in his hands, and I think they did it. So that's the good side. The defensive side was obviously bad in the second half. They weren't really on the field in the first half. So that has got to be fixed. But I tweeted this right before the game. I was concerned about the defense because Trayvon Walker's still not back all the way. Then he took himself out of the game for the fourth quarter and overtime. Devin Lloyd still out and Eric Murray out. I mean, that's every level of your defense missing someone. And I don't think they have the horses and the depth to be able to overcome some of that. And I think that's what we're seeing the last couple of weeks. And then you add in Jordan Lewis being out and, oh, by the way, Travis Hunter being out. And now that just adds to it. So what is this defense really going to look like? The last 9 games, I think, is interesting. But did the Jaguars now become more of an offensive football team after the bye week? And I think that's what we thought this was probably going to be from the jump of the season. Maybe that is the hope, even with all the injuries there. And now, of course, the addition of Jakobi Meyers.
Yes, great segue. We've had a lot of great segues on this program so far here today, Brent, between you and Dan Griffis, which if you missed any of our conversation with Dan, be sure to go back and listen on demand. A lot of folks in the live chat bringing up those injuries. Of course, even more want intel on that Jakobi Meyers trade. So let's get your initial thoughts. You were live on the air for Brent and Austin when it went down, but ultimately, Brent, the move to trade for an additional wide receiver, in my opinion, says a couple different things. Number one, the health of that room right now is obviously in question, not even with just Travis Hunter on IR, Brian Thomas Jr. with the ankle injury, De'Ami Brown in concussion protocol. I heard this on Happy Hour. Did Parker Washington, his back, get a little banged up? Is that true? Or is that the first time okay. I was a little surprised when JP said that or Prisco said that. But anyways, point being, that's a very banged up room. They had to make a move. Why was this the right move for the Jaguars?
Well, I think it's interesting to see that this is a move that everybody could line up on the outside, and that's what they ended up delivering on the inside. And this made sense whether they had conversations or not. I mean, everybody was just piecing this one together. I think it's since come out that even the Jags were interested in Myers before the season. So I think there's a lot of logic involved, and I like logic. I think this makes a lot of sense. Are the Jags giving up 4th and 6? Is that too much? Some people are saying. I think this means the reason why people would say that means they're giving up too much is potentially because you make moves around this time if you think you're going to go win a Super Bowl. Well, let's be honest. The Jaguars trying to make the playoffs right now feels like a Super Bowl. This hasn't happened very often in Jacksonville. When you have an opportunity to do it, and especially with this regime, and change things, I think you owe it to yourself. I think you owe it to Shad Khan. I think you owe it to the people in that locker room. I think you owe it to the season ticket holders and the fans in Jacksonville to try to go get it when there hasn't been a lot of opportunities. So is this a Super Bowl kind of move where it puts you in position? No. But it's definitely a help move, given the health of that receiving room, given the sure hands of Jakobi Meyers. And it could have some upside at the end of the day if he performs well. He's only 28 years old. The Jags could sign him to another 2-year deal on the other side of this. So I think this one made a ton of sense. I think it shows that, hey, they're in it to go to the playoffs. Is it going to get there? We'll find out. But I like the mentality of this football team right now in this front office to say, hey, we've got a chance. We believe we've got a chance. Let's go seize the opportunity here, and we'll find out if the Jags do it. But the Jags getting a 9-8, 10-7 this year, having a chance at the playoffs is a very important thing, in my opinion. And this move helps them do that.
And the contract running through 2026, Brent, knowing De'Ami Brown's contract expires after this year, Tim Patrick's, obviously it's also a move with that in mind. So it's not a complete rental like I previously really viewed it as, because I thought the contract expired after this year, especially hearing that when Meyers does come up for free agency, he's looking for something in the market of like $20 million a year. I don't see that happening by the time he's 29, 30.
Let's hope he plays well to earn that.
Yes, that would be nice. Before we let you go, before you get ready for Talent Talks, you tweeted it. I tweeted back at you. We've discussed it at length. The expectation is the Jaguars are going to try to make another move today for a defensive lineman. You would love to see Calais Campbell back in teal and black, as would so many. Who else, if not Calais, or is it that simple? Does it make that much sense and that much logic to just go bring the big man back?
I think the problem with the defensive tackle position is we all want to dream big in the Quinnen Williams and Jeffrey Simmons kind of mold, right? And you'd love a guy that's 27, 28 years old and a game wrecker, but those guys don't come available. Plus, they're very expensive from a draft capital and an actual dollar standpoint. And I'm just not sure the Jags are in a position to do that without a first-round pick next year. And they're somewhat up against the cap, too. So, and they might have to get Trayvon Walker under contract, along with already Josh Hines-Allen. So does it make sense from that standpoint? That's why, listen, Calais Campbell, I don't know if the move's going to be made, but it's something like that that could give you a bit of a spark, that could add to what you have, mix it up a little bit, because what you have hasn't really worked on a consistent basis. I would love to see Calais. I'm a biased guy. I think he still looks pretty good at 39 years old. So if you think it certainly wouldn't hurt the locker room, I think it would please a lot of people and it feel like it would be an energy bump. I also don't really feel like it's realistic. I think the Jags would love to make a move at D-line. I think it's real tricky to make a move at D-line given all the different circumstances and who might be available.
Hey, listen, if Calais Campbell comes back to Jacksonville, he would be their leader in sacks, having not played a single snap for them yet this year. So file that one away. Brent, I know you got to get ready for Talent Talks. We got to get ready to pass it off to you. Let the folks know what's coming up today on the program.
Yeah, we've got, we usually have 4 guests on the show, and we will. Nick Morrow, the athletic director. We're going to be in this new room and here at UNF Arena, Bobby Kennan as well. And we've got some other visitors along the way, including Erica Lambert. And there's an education day tomorrow for the women's basketball team. It's basketball season, so we're talking some college basketball and other sports here on the campus of the University of North Florida. Talent Talk every Tuesday at 2 o'clock. It's coming up next.
Hey, I rocked the ASUN sports hat for Sunday's postgame. Don't you worry. We are supporting basketball here on the Action Sports Jacks channel. Appreciate you, Brent. Thanks for hopping in.
All right.
All right. We will see him here momentarily on the airwaves of the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network. So don't change that dial. I'm sure if there's breaking Jaguars trade news, he, Erica Lambert, Bobby Kennan, Nick Morrow, they're going to hit it head on. Shout out to the Lady Ospreys. Hung with Florida for a good chunk of that game with a completely new look roster last night. We appreciate you hanging out with us and hanging with us here through the duration of today's hour-long program. Of course, if you missed any of the show, you can go back. You can listen on demand at the Action Sports Jacks YouTube, as well as wherever you get your podcast. The Jags make a move for Jakobi Meyers. Could more be on the way? Talent Talks comes next on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 channel. And of course, keep it locked in on Action Sports Jacks' Twitter, as well as mine at Mia O'Brien TV and the O'Brien NFL Notebook for the very latest when it comes to that 4 o'clock 2025 trade deadline in the National Football League. We will be back on Thursday, but until then, we'll catch you later.